Over 100 years ago now, Wales, and in particular this area here of North Wales, was a world leader in slate production. And this quarry where we are right now, Dinorwig Quarry, was employing thousands of people. But as you can see today, in 2025, it's abandoned. There's nobody here. And what happened? How did they go from being world leaders to this? Well, we're going to explore that story today, revisit the history a little bit, figure out how they got so big and how it all came crashing down. And we're going to be doing all that whilst exploring Dinorwig Quarry, in particular heading this way to find one of the old workers' villages. So come along with me and let's do some exploring. Now, as I mentioned, we actually need to head downhill here. I'm hoping looks like a path over there. Let's have a look. And if you're worried about missing out on anything from further uphill, it's just more slate, trust me. There are a few abandoned buildings and ruins as we go around. You might see some on the crest of that hill, but we're going to see plenty of that, I promise. And first things first, I don't know if you've ever been to a slate quarry before, but I haven't. And it's just such a weird view. One thing I don't know is where the actual ground is. This surely isn't just a whole mountain of slate. There must be some earth under there somewhere. But where is it? And how deep is this? It's actually a little bit intimidating because a couple of weeks ago here, there was a landslide. Not on this exact footpath, and don't worry, if you're watching this video, everything's fine. But looking at these views now, I mean, you wouldn't want any of this to start moving. Now, to understand this story, I guess we need to get the obvious questions out of the way, like, what is slate? What is it? Or more importantly, in this video, what's it used for? We're not going to dive into the geological side of slate today, more about its practical applications and its uses. Now, the most common use for slate that most of us would think of, first of all, is probably roofing, roof tiles. And this is an application of slate that goes back in recorded history all the way to the Romans. Now, there are other uses for slate as well, but we'll come back to those a bit later. But let's dive into how it became so popular and in such high demand. And one of the early benefits to demand of slate was changes within architectural trends. Whoa, I guess some kind of track for transportation. I don't know if it's been covered, if it was a railway or something different. Now, following on from these architectural changes, we had the Industrial Revolution on the horizon. So in the 18th century, as a part of this, British towns evolved into cities, industries were created, factories, forges, and workers' villages. And all of this resulted in a massive rise in demand for slate. Now, obviously within Britain, Welsh slate, very accessible, nearby, and it had a reputation for being incredibly high quality. So things here were booming. Bear in mind that people have been quarrying slate in Wales for over 1800 years. I've got a feeling I'm going the wrong way. This doesn't look like it goes down. Let's see. Now, Dinorwig Quarry, where we are right now, was opened in 1787. This looks like a no-go. Oh, it's an old railway track. I think we might have to go backwards. Now, the industry here in North Wales peaked in 1898, and there were on record around 17,000 workers, not just here, but in other nearby quarries as well. And in that year, they produced almost 500,000 tonnes of slate. Now, as you can see, it's pretty much been left as it was. This is not a stretch of land that's been beautified for the benefit of public access. It is publicly accessible, just to make sure you know I'm not trespassing here. And there are heavily walked paths, but you do want to be a little bit or a lot careful, because you could easily get yourself in a bit of trouble here. Now, I'm a long way from home today, and that's been made possible in this video thanks to you, the supporters of this channel, and also to today's sponsor, which is yfood. Now, yfood make alternatives to unhealthy takeaways, let's say, and meal skipping, which for me, the videos I make on this channel, is kind of a useful thing actually, because as much as I hate to admit it, quite often when I'm filming videos for this channel, we can put it down to laziness or not being prepared, but I don't bring enough food. And then I'll be driving home a long way and I'll just stop somewhere, get a unhealthy and, to be fair, expensive piece of fast food from an unspecified business. And so this is actually a great alternative. Much more nutritious and much cheaper. Now, yfood kindly sent me a few samples as well, their drinks taster pack and what they call their fruity selection. I tried one a couple of days ago, and maybe I shouldn't say this on the video, but I wasn't expecting it to taste very nice. I don't know why, I just wasn't expecting much from the flavour, but my honest opinion, it was actually really nice. And today I've gone for cold brew coffee, partly because, see if you can guess what time it is currently 6:41 a.m. The best time to get up in the hills of Wales in the early morning. Now, if you're interested in trying out yfood, we've got a discount code introvert-YouTube. You can scan the code on screen, check the link in the bio to get 10% off your order. They're also running a sale from the 25th to the 29th of August, and you can stack the codes. You'll get a bit less if you stack them, but you'll still get a bigger discount. So now's a really good time to check it out. Now I'm going to get this down me, and then we'll carry on with our journey towards the barracks, and I'll let you know what happened to this industry, how it all crumbled and ended up as it is today, a ghost town. Okay, back to our story. We were in 1898 now. That was actually really delicious. Sponsorship aside, I'm glad I brought that. Now, one of the first hits to slate production was actually one of the things that kicked things off in the first place. Because on the turn of the 20th century, changes in architectural trends again meant a slight drop in demand. But this wasn't going to be the biggest hit. It's so weird. I've been here for a while now this morning, but it still looks really wild. Next up, we've got increased availability of cheaper man-made alternatives to slate. Asbestos cement, for example. Now, asbestos is a word that, maybe this is age-specific these days, but for a lot of us, doesn't bring up a nice feeling. It's not a good thing for the most part. Now, I'm not an expert on asbestos, but from what I did read, researching for this video, asbestos cement does still exist in roofs across Great Britain. So it's possible that you live somewhere with these slates, or you work somewhere even with these slates. And from the sounds of it, it's not a danger, it's not a risk. At least not in and of itself. They do need checking every year. This is not advice, it's just what I could find when I was looking it up. Just to say, if you've got any, don't panic. Okay, so what else is coming next for slate? Well, World War I didn't really help, that's an understatement. Obviously a lot of global consequences to the First World War, and one of them, once again, was a massive reduction in slate demand. And of course the following international economic depression. Not to mention we've got the increasing availability of cheaper imports available from places like Turkey, Holland, Canada, and a bunch more. So we can see this steady decline happening. And by the 1920s and 30s, many of the slate quarries here in North Wales were operating at a loss. They were losing money. And in hindsight, it's easy to say that they were fighting a losing battle. I feel like I've really disturbed these sheep's morning now. Now you could probably guess another hit that didn't help by any means was World War II. I mean, what chance did they have, really? Again, a bunch of consequences came along with this. One of which was that they just lost many of their workers. They left to go to war. Not only did this mean less skilled workers available, but it meant the average age of the skilled workers rapidly increases. Now, the issue is not having older workers, but it's the future of that, because they're not going to stay working at the quarry forever. And so if there's no younger workforce taking on these skills, there's no future. And really, there was just nothing they could do. Let's see if I can sneak past these sheep and leave them in peace. Oh. Okay, there we go. You can enjoy their breakfast now. Oh, it's looking foggy. This is actually, I think, my first time in Wales. And the weather here is pretty notorious for being somewhat unpredictable and aggressive, I suppose, in certain circumstances. So before we were interrupted by the sheep, I'm just passing the blame there for me cutting off the story. There was little that could be done. There were obviously a lot of efforts made to try and revitalise the slate quarries, bringing in more modern machinery, for example, but it just seems like it was an impossible task and nothing could really be done to slow what was happening. Until eventually, Dinorwig Quarry closed in 1969. Now, it wasn't the end of slate in Wales. The nearby Penrhyn Quarry, which is even bigger than this one, is still active to this day. I suppose not on the scale that it was back at the time, but it is still producing slate. Part of it is also used for a zip line, I think, which sounds pretty awesome. Now, what we need to do is try and find a place called Anglesey Barracks, which is an abandoned workers' village. And it's somewhere down there. I do have a map location in case we need it, but let's just try and find it without. It's weird, it's so quiet. You can hear a bit of water in the background, in the distance. And then every now and then, you just hear the sound of falling slate for one or 2 seconds. I thought I heard it then. It's pretty peaceful though. I still can't get over these stacks. Kind of reminds me of those penny pusher machines you get in the arcades. Just a really, really dangerous version. I don't think this is the way This is confusing. Now I'm going to obviously cut forward to the barracks till we get a bit closer. I'll show you anything interesting I see on the way. And the other use, or one of the other uses of slate that I mentioned earlier in this video, you may have guessed it already. I'll give you a second just in case you want to have a think about it, because I didn't mention it for a while now. Ready? It was in schools. There were a number of right answers to that question, for the record, but that was the one that I was thinking of, because I think it was in the late 19th, early 20th centuries, slate was used as a writing tool. So instead of having a pad and paper and a pen, you'd have a piece of slate. Wouldn't be as thick as these. It would be a thin slice, and it would have a wooden frame around it. And then you could use it for all kinds of things. Practice your handwriting, because obviously you can erase it. Oh, I've definitely gone the wrong way. How's this happened? Have I? Wait, maybe I haven't. I mean, I guess there's different ways in and out. Oh, it's getting windy. Do you know what's weird? This is actually the way that I came in. And I know this is a typical thing. Things always look different when you walk in the reverse direction. But that looked entirely unfamiliar. 100%. Okay. Something I thought was interesting as well, probably more for people who've been on the channel a little while, is that the dry stone walls are made of slate. Makes sense, perfectly logical. I've just never seen that anywhere else. Something else to add to the dry stone wall catalogue. We'll get a quick scan of the sign. Oh, that's the Welsh bit. We might have some Welsh viewers. Ah, this is where we're going. Wait, no, surely I don't have to do all of that. My plan was to kind of do this. That's what I'm hoping to do. Oh, that's a big one. It's actually really nice getting out of Yorkshire. As much as Yorkshire's incredible in so many ways, this landscape is just so different. So this is where we've come down from, and I think we're going down this way. 2 gates. It's kind of an eerie place. One thing I don't understand, because I didn't seem to come across it in all the research that I did, was, I guess it's the production process that results in these mountains. Or am I just exposing my idiocy again in, there's something really obvious to this. But it's just that there's so much sitting on the hills. Is that an old electricity pylon? Is this a little transport rail as well, or is that just for... It is metal. It must be, right? It looks like... I didn't look through all the shrubbery, but it looks like it goes all the way. You know, the further I get down here, the harder it is to imagine. Like the time and work effort it took to do all of this. Oh, got an old minecart. Sorry, slight detour. So that must be what was running up and down that track, maybe? I'm totally just guessing at this point. There'll be people more well informed than me in the comment section that can answer that one for me, I'm sure. Okay, so it's becoming clear there's more down this route than just the houses. We've got the rail here, and I couldn't see it earlier, maybe I just missed it, but yeah, we've got two sides to it. There must have been another one on the way down just then that I couldn't see for the plants. Some more buildings here. This isn't the barracks. Oh, this does kind of look like a little living quarters. Is this part of the barracks? I'm just thinking that kind of looks like a fireplace. Okay, what have we got here? So this would be where the slate was being moved from. Oh, I think I can see some houses. So this, emerging around the corner, is what's called Anglesey Barracks. Now, just in case you don't know, Anglesey is a Welsh island just up to the northeast from here. So we're not in Anglesey right now. But the story goes that the name comes from the fact that many of the workers that came and specifically stayed here were travelling from Anglesey. Here it is. So workers would travel down here to work at the quarry and stay in these houses during the week and then head home at the weekend to their families. I'm going to assume that they all have the same layout, but we'll have a look. From what I've read, they all have a small living space. This looks like the fireplace. And this would be your sleeping quarters. So you can kind of imagine coming back down here on your weekdays, staying here with 3 other people. Oftentimes it would be family members. I don't know if that's the case all the time. I can't imagine it would have been a very comfortable place or a quiet place. They would have no plumbing here, no running water, and you would have to pay 1 shilling. I couldn't find this last part of the puzzle. 1 shilling per week, per month? I don't know. But clearly, pretty well built, because it's still standing in pretty good nick, and it doesn't look like it's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, well that's going to be unfortunately it from today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please let us know in the comments section if you've got questions or more information to add, or even corrections. As I mentioned earlier, this is the furthest I've ever been able to travel to make a video, and that is thanks in part to sponsors, but also to you. Every one of you who's been supporting the channel recently in the various ways, so thank you for making this possible. If you want to see any more videos from Wales, there is a ton here, so I'd love to come back if I get the opportunity to. Let me know in the comments, and if enough people want it, we'll see if we can make it happen. So from Anglesey Barracks and the abandoned Dinorwig Slate Quarry of North Wales, thanks for watching, and fingers crossed, I'll see you next time.